I still remember the exact moment my world cracked in half. It wasn't a phone call. Not even a face-to-face argument. It was a text message. 3 days before my wedding. I was sitting on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes and wedding decorations. My phone buzzed, and I smiled automatically, thinking it was another excited message from friends or maybe my fiancé. But it wasn't. It was from my father. And the moment I opened it, something felt off. There was no sun, no warmth, no build-up. Just a cold, emotionless line. Don't expect me at your wedding. From today onward, I have no son. At first, I thought it was a joke. A terrible, out-of-character joke. I even reread it 3 times, waiting for the just kidding part. It never came. My hands started shaking, and I immediately called him. Once. Twice. 5 times. No answer. Then finally, after what felt like hours, he picked up. Dad, what is this message? I asked, my voice already cracking. There was silence on the other end. Then he said something that I don't think I'll ever forget for the rest of my life. You've made your choice. Now I'm making mine. That was it. No explanation. No discussion. No anger even. Just finality. I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. Made my choice? What are you talking about? I said, almost pleading. But deep down I already knew. It was about her. My fiancée. The woman I loved. The woman he never accepted. He didn't like where she came from. Didn't like her family. Didn't like that she didn't fit into his idea of what my life should look like. And I had spent months trying to fix it. Talking. Explaining. Begging him to just meet her halfway. But he never did. And now, 3 days before the biggest day of my life, he was walking away like I meant nothing. Dad, this is my wedding. I said quietly. You're really not coming? Another pause. Then he said something even colder. I already told the family not to attend either. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just him stepping back. He was trying to erase me. Cut me off completely. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe properly. You're choosing this over me? I asked. And his response? You chose first. Click. The call ended. And just like that, I lost my father. 3 days before my wedding. I sat there on the floor, staring at my phone, trying to process what had just happened. The room suddenly felt too quiet. Too empty. Too different. This was supposed to be the happiest week of my life. Instead, it felt like everything was falling apart. And the worst part? I didn't even know how I was going to tell her. But what I didn't know at that moment was that this wasn't the end of the story. Because 2 years later, the same man who disowned me would come back into my life. Not with an apology, but with a request that would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying that message over and over again in my head. From today onward, I have no son. It didn't feel real. It couldn't be real. But every time I checked my phone, it was still there. And the silence from the rest of my family? That made it worse. No calls. No texts. Nothing. It was like I had already disappeared from their lives. The next morning, I had to do the hardest thing I'd ever done. I had to tell her. She was sitting at the kitchen table, smiling, scrolling through wedding ideas, completely unaware that everything had just changed. For a moment, I almost didn't say anything. I almost pretended everything was fine. But I couldn't. Hey, I said quietly. She looked up immediately. What's wrong? That's the thing about someone who truly loves you. They know. Before you even say a word. I sat down across from her, my hands still shaking slightly. My dad, he's not coming to the wedding. Her smile faded, but she stayed calm. Okay, why? I swallowed hard. He disowned me. The words felt heavy coming out of my mouth, like they didn't belong in real life. For a second, she just stared at me, trying to process it. Then she reached across the table and held my hand. I'm so sorry, she said softly. No panic. No drama. Just support. And somehow that made it hit even harder. But that's not all, I added. She frowned slightly. He told the rest of the family not to come either. This time, the silence between us stretched longer. Not awkward. Just heavy. "So, none of them are coming?" she asked. I shook my head. Not a single one. I expected her to get upset. Maybe even question everything. I mean, let's be real. Weddings are about family too. And now half of mine was gone. But instead, she squeezed my hand tighter. "Then we'll do it without them." I looked up at her, surprised. "No drama," she continued. "No begging. No chasing people who don't want to be there." Her voice was calm, but firm. "This day is about us." And in that moment, I realized something. I hadn't lost everything. Not even close. The wedding day came faster than I expected. And I won't lie, it was weird. Walking into that venue, knowing my father wasn't there, knowing my side of the family seats were almost empty, it felt like something was missing. Because something was missing. Him. There was a moment before the ceremony started, when I stood there, adjusting my suit, looking around the room. I kept thinking, maybe he'll show up. Maybe at the last second, the doors would open, and he'd walk in like nothing happened. But the doors never opened. And deep down, I knew they wouldn't. Then the music started, and everything else faded away. Because she walked in, and for the first time in days, I felt calm. Like, no matter what I had lost, I was still gaining something bigger. The ceremony was beautiful, simple, real, full of people who actually wanted to be there, not because they were told to, but because they cared. And that made all the difference. But there was one moment, one small moment during the reception, that almost broke me. Someone came up to me and said, "Your dad really missed out today." I forced a smile. But inside, it hit deep, because they were right. He did miss out, not just on the wedding, but on me. And that's the day I made a silent promise to myself. If he ever came back into my life, it wouldn't be on his terms anymore. But what I didn't expect was that 2 years later he actually would come back. And not because he missed me, but because he needed something. After the wedding, he disappeared. Completely. No calls. No messages. No "how are you?" Not even on birthdays. It was like I never existed. At first, I kept checking my phone every day. You know that feeling? When you're expecting a message, even though you know it's not coming. Still you check. Morning. Afternoon. Night. Nothing. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. And eventually, I stopped checking. Because at some point, you get tired of hoping. Life moved on. Not perfectly, but it moved. My wife and I built our own routine, our own peace, our own little world that didn't depend on anyone else. We laughed. We struggled. We figured things out together. And slowly, that pain he left behind, it started fading. Not disappearing completely, but it stopped controlling me. There were still moments though, small ones. Like when someone would talk about their dad helping them fix something, or giving advice, or just calling to check in. That's when it hit. Not like a punch, more like a quiet ache. The kind you don't talk about. One night, about a year after the wedding, my wife asked me something I wasn't ready for. "Do you miss him?" I didn't answer right away. Because the truth wasn't simple. I missed the version of him I thought he was, I finally said. And that was it. She didn't push. She just nodded, like she understood. Because she did. By the second year, I had accepted it. Not forgiven. Not forgotten. Just accepted. Some people choose their pride over relationships. And no matter what you do, you can't change that. Then one random afternoon, everything changed. I was at work. Just a normal day. Nothing special. My phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at it without thinking, and then froze. The name on the screen? Dad. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, because I hadn't seen that name light up my phone in 2 years. My heart started beating faster. Not from excitement. Not even from happiness. Just shock. I didn't pick up right away. I just stared at it, letting it ring, trying to figure out what this meant. Why now? After everything, it stopped. And for a moment, I felt weirdly relieved, like I didn't have to deal with it. But then, a message came through. I opened it slowly, half expecting some kind of apology, Or, at least, a normal conversation. Something like, "How have you been? I miss you." Anything. But instead, it said, "I need to talk to you. It's important." That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement of what he did. No regret. Just, "I need something." And in that moment, after 2 years of silence, I realized something hadn't changed at all. He didn't come back because he cared. He came back because he needed me. I locked my phone and leaned back in my chair, thinking, processing, deciding, because this time, things were different. I wasn't that same person anymore. The one who chased him. The one who begged for approval. No. This time, he was the one reaching out. And the real question was, did he deserve a response? I didn't reply to his message right away. Not because I didn't see it, but because I didn't know how to respond. After 2 years of silence, he suddenly shows up with, "I need to talk to you. It's important." Important for who? Definitely not for me. I kept staring at the message, my thumb hovering over the screen. A part of me wanted to ignore it completely, just like he ignored me. But another part wanted answers. That night, I showed the message to my wife. She read it quietly, then looked up at me. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "It feels wrong." She nodded. "Then don't rush it." Simple. Clear. No pressure. But sleep didn't come easy that night either. Because my mind kept going back to one thing. Why now? After everything he did, why reach out now? The next morning, I replied. Not emotionally. Not angrily. Just one line. "What do you need?" No dad. No warmth. No pretending. Just the truth. He replied faster than I expected, almost like he had been waiting. "Can we meet?" That one line brought back everything. The anger, the confusion, the memories. I stared at the message for a long time. Meeting him meant reopening a door I had worked so hard to close. But at the same time, I knew one thing. If I didn't meet him, I'd always wonder. So I agreed. We chose a small coffee shop. Neutral place. No memories. No emotions attached. At least, that's what I told myself. The day of the meeting, I got there early. Not because I was excited, but because I didn't want him to see me walking in. I wanted control. For once. Then he walked in. And for a second, everything felt strange. Because he looked the same. Same face. Same posture. Just older. He saw me. Paused. Then slowly walked over. "Hi," he said. Like nothing ever happened. No apology. No awkwardness. Just hi. I didn't smile. I didn't stand up. I just nodded slightly. "Sit," I said. He sat down across from me. And for a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then finally, I broke the silence. "You said it was important." Straight to the point. He took a deep breath. And for the first time, he looked a little uncomfortable. "I wouldn't have contacted you if it wasn't serious," he said. I didn't respond. I just waited. Then he said something that instantly changed the entire atmosphere. "I need your help. Not I'm sorry. Not I made a mistake. Just, I need your help." I leaned back slightly, studying his face, trying to understand if there was any regret in there. Anything at all. But before I could say anything, he added one more line. "And you're the only one who can do this." That's when I knew this wasn't going to be simple. Not even close. "Do what?" I asked. He hesitated for just a second, then said, "I need you to sign some documents." I frowned. "Documents?" He nodded. And what he said next, I wasn't ready for. Because those documents weren't just papers. They were something that would force me to choose between my self-respect and the man who once erased me from his life. "Documents?" I repeated, my voice calm, but inside, something didn't feel right. He nodded like it was something normal. Like he hadn't just walked back into my life after 2 years of silence, asking for a favor. "They're just legal papers," he said. Nothing complicated. That line alone made me suspicious. Because in real life, nothing is ever just legal papers. "Explain," I said, crossing my arms. This time, I wasn't the one feeling small. He shifted slightly in his chair, cleared his throat, then finally said it. There's a property issue. I stayed quiet, letting him continue. It's under a shared name, and your signature is required to transfer it. That's when everything clicked. So this is why he was here. Not because he missed me, not because he regretted anything, but because legally, he needed me. I let out a small breath, almost like a quiet laugh. Not funny, just predictable. You disowned me, I said slowly. And now you need my signature? He didn't deny it, didn't apologize either. Just said, this isn't about the past. That sentence hit harder than anything else he'd said so far. Not about the past? The same past where he cut me off, skipped my wedding, told everyone else to abandon me? And now suddenly, none of that matters? It is about the past, I replied, my voice sharper now. You made it about the past when you walked away. He looked slightly irritated, like I was making things harder than they needed to be. Look, he said, leaning forward. I'm not here to argue. I just need your cooperation. Cooperation. That word didn't sit right with me at all. You need it? I asked. Yes. Not please. Not can you. Just yes. I leaned back, studying him again. And for the first time, I realized something important. He wasn't here to fix the relationship. He was here to use it. So what happens if I say no? I asked calmly. That question changed his expression. Just slightly. But I noticed. He paused, then said it will complicate things. I almost smiled, because that was the closest thing to honesty he had shown so far. Complicate things for who? I asked. This time, he didn't answer immediately. And that silence? That told me everything. For him, not for me. I nodded slowly. Right. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke again. But the energy at that table had completely shifted now. Because now, I wasn't the one seeking approval anymore. I was the one holding power. And he knew it. Then, out of nowhere, he tried something different. His tone softened slightly. Not genuine, but calculated. You're still my son, he said. That line, after everything, it almost made me laugh. But instead, I just looked at him and said no. He frowned. You made sure of that, remember? Silence. And in that moment, for the first time since he walked in, he had nothing to say. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Because now, it wasn't just about signing papers. It was about something bigger. Respect. Boundaries. And consequences. And I had a decision to make. One that would define everything moving forward. That table, that moment, it felt like everything had been building up to this. 2 years of silence. A lifetime of expectations. And now, a simple question hiding a heavy truth. Was I going to help the man who walked away from me? He was still sitting across from me, waiting. Not nervously, not emotionally, just expecting an answer. And that told me everything I needed to know. If I signed those papers, nothing would change. He wouldn't suddenly become a better father. He wouldn't apologize. He wouldn't come back into my life. He would just get what he wanted and disappear again. I looked down at the table for a second, then back at him. You know what the worst part is? I said calmly. He didn't respond. The worst part isn't that you need something from me, I continued. It's that you came here, acting like you're entitled to it. That hit him. I could see it in his face. Not guilt, but discomfort. I'm not asking for much, he said defensively. I shook my head slightly. You're asking for something after throwing me away like I didn't matter. Silence again. But this time, it was heavier. Then he tried one last move. This is family, he said. We help each other. That line almost broke the entire moment. Because suddenly, now we're family again? Now it matters? I leaned forward slightly, looked him straight in the eyes, and said something I had never said before. Family doesn't disappear when it's inconvenient. He didn't have an answer for that. And deep down, I think he knew. I took a slow breath, because what I was about to say wasn't out of anger. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. I'm not signing anything, I said. There it was. Simple. Final. Clear. For a second, he just stared at me, like he didn't expect that answer. You're really going to do this? He asked. I didn't even hesitate. No, I replied calmly. You already did. And that was it. I stood up. No drama. No shouting. No scene. Just closure. As I walked away from that table, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt light. Like something that had been weighing on me for years was finally gone. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't choose his approval. I chose myself. That night, I told my wife everything. She didn't ask if I made the right decision. She just smiled softly and said, I'm proud of you. And honestly, that meant more than anything he could have ever said. Some people will only come into your life when they need something. That doesn't mean you owe them anything. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Because respect isn't given by blood, it's earned by actions. I'm not signing anything. Those were my exact words. Clear. Final. And for a moment, it felt like that was the end of it. But then, something stopped me. Not him. Not guilt. Not pressure. A thought. I paused. Took a breath. Then slowly turned back toward the table. He was still sitting there, watching me. Confused. Annoyed. Maybe even a little desperate now. I didn't say it's impossible, I added. That got his attention immediately. What do you mean? He asked, leaning forward. I walked back. Sat down again. But this time, the dynamic had completely changed. Now, he was the one waiting. I'll sign the papers, I said calmly. His face relaxed instantly. Like everything just fell into place for him. But I wasn't done. On one condition. And just like that, the tension came back. What condition? He asked. I looked straight at him. No anger. No hesitation. You apologize. Silence. Not the normal kind. The heavy kind. The kind that forces truth out into the open. For what? He asked. That question alone told me everything. But I didn't back down. For everything I said. For the message. For missing my wedding. For telling the family not to come. For acting like I didn't exist. He looked uncomfortable now. Really uncomfortable. I don't think that's necessary, he replied. Of course he didn't. Because to him, this was just business. But to me, this was respect. It is, I said firmly. He leaned back, shaking his head slightly. You're making this emotional, he said. I almost smiled. No, I replied. You made it emotional 2 years ago. That hit hard. He went quiet again, thinking, calculating, trying to find a way around it. But there wasn't one, because this time, there was no pressure on me. Minutes passed, and then finally, he spoke. I'm sorry. But it was weak, empty, forced. I didn't move, didn't react. No, I said calmly, not like that. He frowned. Then how? He asked, clearly frustrated now. I leaned forward slightly. Like you mean it. Another long silence. And for the first time, since this conversation started, I saw something different in his eyes. Not control. Not ego. Something closer to realization. He looked down at the table. Then back at me. And this time, when he spoke, it was different. I was wrong, he said quietly. I stayed silent, letting him continue. I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have missed your wedding. His voice wasn't perfect, but it wasn't fake anymore either. I let my pride ruin everything, he added. That was the first honest thing he had said. And for a moment, everything felt still. I took a breath, then nodded slightly. Okay, I said. He looked surprised. That's it? He asked. I stood up again. That's all I needed. Not money. Not revenge. Not control. Just acknowledgement. Bring the papers tomorrow, I added. I'll sign. And this time, when I walked away, it felt different. Not heavy. Not emotional. Balanced. Because this time, I didn't just protect my self-respect. I made him face it. And sometimes, that's the real win.